Hello there. We're getting ready for another segment of Get Married in the Smokies. And this one, again, as I mentioned before, the show is going to talk about wedding professionals and what they do, but it's also about education. It's about letting you know, because we are a destination area, of things that you want to know about before you get here. So a topic we're going to be talking about, especially with the national park, is permits, especially for those wanting to get married. So stay tuned for another segment of Get Married in the Smokies, and we're going to roll that intro. Good afternoon and welcome to Pigeon Forge, and we're broadcasting live from the DDX Studios Mountain Fun Life page here on Facebook. I encourage you to like the page, as we've got a variety of different shows covering what's going on in Sevier County. Get Married in the Smokies is a show producing to help educate you on weddings and events in the area, to help highlight wedding professionals and all that we have. Each week I'll have different guests covering a variety of different topics, and hopefully you'll get something out of it. Maybe it'll educate you, and maybe you're a professional watching this and love to be a part of a taping. So please let me know, message me or message Mountain Fun Life, and I'd love to have you on. And I have Eric Gebhardt here with New Beginnings Photography, and this segment we're really going to get into, because let's face it, with this area being a destination area, we have between 8 to probably over 15,000 weddings that take place here a year, and the Smoky Mountain National Park is a huge backdrop of couples wanting to get married. But we thought we'd educate you on exactly the procedures required in order to have that special day here in the park. So Eric, again, thank you for being here. Appreciate it very much. And in your experience, what is the easiest or best way for a bride who's saying, hey, I want to get married in the Smoky Mountains, the National Park? What are some things that they need to know?
Well, the easiest and best way is to find a local professional that can get the permit for you. But a lot of brides or a lot of couples don't want to hire somebody to do that. They want to get it on their own. So you are able to get it on your own. Okay. The cost of the permit is $50 from the National Park. Okay. If you have a business person get it for you, someone that's licensed to do business in the National Park, they might charge you a little bit more than that. But the first thing you would want to do if you're trying to get a permit on your own is go to the National Park website. Okay. And that's nps.gov/GRSM. Okay. And there is a wedding section on their page that shows the locations where you're allowed to hold a ceremony. Very good. A list of professionals that you would be able to hire that are licensed to do business in the National Park. And the permit application is on there as well. Gotcha. When you get the permit, when you see the permit, you might change your mind and you might want to hire a professional or a wedding professional to get that permit for you. It's 20 some odd pages of information.
It's quite extensive.
But a professional, a wedding professional, can tell you the most important parts of that. There's a streamlined process for us to get a permit on the couple's behalf. Gotcha. So it's a little bit easier for us to get it for couples than for them to get it themselves.
That makes sense. Now, from a business that has a permit, what did it cost you as a business owner to get that permit?
The wedding permit is separate from the license that we have to do business in the national parks.
Okay, so explain that. Yeah, explain that difference to me.
So, as a business, we can apply for what is essentially a business license for the national park. and it's they have some requirements like a business license in your city, and insurance,
Sure.
and things like that. They keep track of what you do, and I don't remember the cost of that, but it's a 2-year license that they renew every
Gotcha.
2 years.
Okay.
And then on top of that, we get a permit for each couple that's getting married in the national park.
Oh, I see. I see. So for each couple you married, you get a permit on top of that.
Correct, yeah.
Gotcha. And is that permit, is that specific to that date and that couple, or how does that work?
Yeah, so each event, whether it's a wedding or something else, needs to have its own permit, and the permit is for a specific time, a specific date, so you can't get a permit and then have a secondary permit or secondary location in case of rain. So it's something to consider if you're planning on getting married in the national park. Most of these locations are outside.
Right.
So you need to have a backup rain plan, and it can't necessarily be inside the national park.
And especially knowing sometimes, especially like a day like today where you're traveling out and about where it was sunny and then it rains, I guess the saying goes, you know, stick around if you don't like the weather, it'll change in 15 minutes. That's
So it is changing every 15 minutes today.
Yes. Okay. So, and that process is really done to kind of help where you're not having dozens and dozens of people rushing to the park and...
Yeah, so the national park is a protected area, and they want to protect the natural and the cultural resources of the national park. So they limit each location to 2 weddings or 2 events per day.
Okay.
There are about 45 different locations that they have pre-approved where you're allowed to have a wedding. So it's each one of those locations can have 2 weddings per day. Another reason that you might have a business or someone local get your permit for you is that we know kind of the best locations, the easiest ones to get to.
Right.
So I limit it to about 10 or 12 different locations in the national park, and like I said, there's 45 or so that and so the ones that we don't go to are a little harder to get to.
Makes sense.
More travel, because the national park is 800 square miles.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it's a big place with a lot of areas, different areas inside the park.
That is true. Now, in your experience when you've photographed weddings in the park, have you ever come across a situation where wildlife has become part of what you're doing at the time, or has that never happened?
It happens on occasion. Most of the
occasion.
time people are pretty excited about it, and we try to get pictures of it.
Sure.
A couple of bears. More often than not, it's something like a deer or something like that, especially in Cates Cove.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And so, you said has it been a couple years since you've gotten your license, or has it been longer than that?
So I've been in the area since 2004.
Right.
And then in 2008 is when they started the permit
And
process.
that's when you got involved with it.
I kind of specialized in doing weddings in the national park, so I got into it right away.
So about 9 or 10 years now. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And again, this is really helpful when you're coming to the area to know what to look for. So therefore, if your wedding professional said, oh, I've wanted to find out what it is to get that license, and that website again is?
nps.gov/GRSM.
Okay. And so that's very helpful. And I do know that I think they're, I'm not going to say selective, but I know like photographers and officiants, no problem, but other services, I'm not so sure that they qualify for license. Would that be correct, or I'm not correct on that?
I'm not as familiar with other services aside from photography and ministers, officiants.
I think like
caterers,
a planner they might.
Yeah. Wedding planners should have a license. I'm not sure about limousine transportation services.
Gotcha.
And DJs,
Sure.
things like that.
Okay. And then also beyond that license, for each couple, that would be required a permit for a specific date, time, and location.
Right.
So if you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them on the Mountain Fun Life page. You can message me, Ron Crivoloni, Get Married in the Smokies. I'd be love to answer any questions for you on that. But I think this is very important information, because you figure, the park hosts,
I believe 300 weddings.
300? Is it 300?
300 or so, yes.
Okay, so that makes sense. I appreciate that information. I really do. And again, I thank you for being on the show today. And this is Eric Gebhardt with New Beginnings Photography, and his website is perfectweddingpics.com. So if you'd like to message him, get a hold of him, I'd love for you to do that, and let him know you saw him here on Mountain Fun Life. And again, thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
I appreciate that information very much. And look forward to seeing you on a future episode of Get Married in the Smokies. Thank you for tuning in here today at Facebook Live on Mountain Fun Life. And again, if you'd like to be on the show or you'd like to see a business showcased, feel free to reach out to us. Thank you. Have a great day, and we'll be seeing you soon.